The story of the Urantia Book, which is representative of a complex and enigmatic text that blends elements of philosophy, theology, science, and cosmology, begins in the early 20th century. It is a tale filled with intrigue, mystery, and a great deal of controversy. The controversy associated with this book is threefold. The first is associated with the major challenges to the Old Testament Bible accounts, such as Genesis, the Tower of Babel, the Great Flood, and many other redactions or self-reported restorations to the Holy Bible that are meant to ultimately present a more caring and less wrathful God. The text cites reasons for these generational biblical inaccuracies as being attributed to political, religious, language barriers, regional cultural influences, and of course, notwithstanding the rigors of time through many oral traditions. Religious scholars greatly challenge these revisions due to the book redefining who God truly is, along with indirectly undermining many current religious institution interpretations of hell, eternal life, and the expanded cosmic family this text provides, which still points to the unifying essence of God. Despite the Urantia Book being encouraging and accepting towards these varying religious institutions, identifying them as still viable pathways to God, the book discourages many rituals, prayers, and other religious dogmas that interfere with your direct relationship with God. As a brief example, despite Christ Michael ultimately succumbing to popular demand and providing the Lord's Prayer, Jesus wanted his apostles and his own family to talk to God directly, much like a real person, rather than reading off an artificial script of what you're supposed to say. The second controversy has to do with the unverifiable claims this book makes associated with the early life of Jesus Christ Michael, and the many scientific claims regarding human development, astrology, and even physics. The problem with these critics is that many of them have failed to read the 2,097 pages of the Urantia Book, and often cite their disparities without providing a full context and scope of what the Urantia Book is attempting to present. In fact, if you were able to read at a pace of 250 words per minute and had an average of 30 minutes per day to read the text, it would take you a whopping estimated 73 days to finish the Urantia Book. Double that number if you're a leisurely reader like me and you're actually trying to enjoy the book. For those of you that are watching, the book is meant to be internalized, meaning that you read some sections, and the sections that resonate, you try to piece together when it comes to how that applies to your own life and the people around you. So you can't keep up that 250 word per minute rate if you're going to, again, maximize the benefit of reading this text. This is an investment many critics of the book have undoubtedly failed to have made. Some points that the Urantia Book offer associated with Christ Michael is that their mandate was to succumb to a very human experience growing up submitting to their Father's will, as we currently are, and descending from a perfected state to know their creation. Christ Michael, secondly, stayed on our planet to bring the good news that our Father loves each and every one of us equally and wishes to have a personal relationship with each one of his children. Lastly, this book indicates that Jesus was not a sacrificial lamb to God, rightly citing what a contradiction that would be if the Son can forgive mankind, but yet not resemble his own Father's mercy by doing so. Again, Jesus was performing his Father's will. This truly balanced half deity and half creature personification in Jesus was not fully developed until Christ Michael ascended to their throneship around the cessation of their Lucifer rebellion in 25 AD, with a formal recognition in 26 AD by Christ Michael's then personalized thought adjuster who brought the
"This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased"
message from their Father in what we see in 135 8.6. The last and final major controversy associated with the Urantia Book is, of course, its elusive and self-reported celestial origins that will be presented in today's video. This book, which first appeared in the mid-1950s, claimed to be a revelation given by celestial beings, offering profound insights into the nature of the universe, the meaning of life, and of course, the story, right? The early story, especially, of Jesus Christ Michael. But the origins of this book are not entirely clear, and its creation is surrounded by mystery. This video delves into the story behind the Urantia Book, its origins, its creation, and the figures who are currently part of its development. As we explore this tale, we will examine the facts and theories surrounding the creation of this book and the impact it has had since its publication. Early 1900s. The story of the Urantia Book can be traced to a curious period in American history during the early 20th century, which of course was in Chicago, Illinois, which was a city alive with intellectual and spiritual activity during that time. In the years leading up to the book's publication, there was a growing interest in spiritualism, mysticism, and other forms of alternative spirituality. Mind you, this was not necessarily the era of people talking about aliens, which is what a majority of this text discusses. So for those conspiracy theorists out there, keep that in mind when it comes to this really being the first book of its kind during that time period. People were seeking answers to big questions about life, religion, and the nature of the universe. In 1911, a man named Dr. William S. Sadler, who was a well-known Chicago psychiatrist and medical doctor, became a key figure in the creation of the Urantia Book. Sadler was deeply involved in the intellectual currents of the time, and he was known for his interest in spiritual matters. He was particularly intrigued by the idea of contacting otherworldly or celestial beings. He was also a man of science and a rationalist. So he approached the idea of contacting these beings with a mixture of skepticism and curiosity, writing several papers on debunking psychic or spiritual phenomenon to conditions such as hysteria. Dr. Sadler's interest in spiritual phenomenon led him to a man known as the contact personality. This individual, whose name remains largely anonymous, although is speculated in my Urantia Book conspiracy video, was the source of what would become the Urantia Book. The contact personality was not the author of the book in the traditional sense. Instead, this individual appeared to be in a trance-like state, claiming to receive messages from celestial beings that have been suggested by some to be in the form of automatic writing. That is, of course, until the second part of this enormous book just simply materialized one day by itself. For years, the contact personality would enter these trances, during which he would transmit revelations from otherworldly entities. These transmissions took place over a period of several years, between 1911 and 1924, in the form of written or spoken messages. These years are supported by several retrievable online materials, which should be noted that contrast slightly in the case of the Michael Foundation Incorporated versus the Urantia Foundation, where we find the phrases approximately 1900 and the term the conduit, identifying this process slightly more obscurely. Many of these purported communications were centered on spiritual topics, the nature of God, the creation of the universe, and the early life and, of course, continuing life of Jesus Christ Michael. The messages came across as highly sophisticated and detailed, reflecting a deep understanding of various disciplines, from cosmology to theology to the human condition. Dr. Sadler, along with a small group of intellectuals and spiritual seekers, began to take note of the content of these transmissions. The group grew in number, and they began meeting regularly to discuss and analyze these messages. Over the course of these meetings, the material from the contact personality was expanded, edited, and organized into the form that would eventually become the Urantia Book. 1920s to the 1930s. By the mid-1920s, the messages that had been received were more than just random spiritual teachings. They were being organized into a coherent narrative. This narrative began to take shape of a series of documents known as the Urantia Papers. These papers were an attempt to explain the larger cosmic picture, from the formation of the universe to the life and teachings of Jesus. One of the most fascinating aspects of the book's creation is that the papers were not written by human authors. The narrative within the Urantia book claims that the content was transmitted through the contact personality by a group of celestial beings. More precisely, at least in the early process of these writings, were individuals largely speculated to be handwritten by a group of spiritual beings, while the true number of the authors in various sections of the book remain debated and at times ambiguous. Some sections of the book are provided with celestial titles only, and others containing no such titles, and even fewer actually giving the names of these entities. On truthbook.com, the current authors listed by alphabetical order count to 23, with some authors writing more than one paper inside the Urantia book. The entire book was reported towards being approved by the judicial arm of God, which is also known as the Ancients of Days. The Urantia papers were organized into 4 main sections. Number 1, the central and super universe, which is a detailed exploration of the structure of the cosmos and the nature of God. Number 2, the local universe, which is a focus on our own universe, its creation, and its spiritual administration. Number 3, the history of Urantia, a discussion of the history of the planet Earth, which is called Urantia in this book, from a cosmic perspective, including its geological formation, early inhabitants, and human evolution. Number 4, the life and teachings of Jesus, which is a detailed biography of Jesus Christ, focusing on his spiritual mission and the significance of his life for mankind. The transmission of these papers was not without its challenges. The group led by Dr. Sadler worked tirelessly to organize, transcribe, and edit the material. Over time, the Urantia papers grew in complexity and scope, and the group became more certain that they were involved in the creation of something extraordinary. The 1955 publication. After decades of secretive work, the Urantia book was finally published in 1955 by the Urantia Foundation, who was incorporated in January of 1950. The book itself was an enormous and complex work, running over 2,000 pages, and it presented an entirely new vision of reality, one that blended science, religion, and philosophy into a grand cosmological framework. Despite its size and complexity, the Urantia book quickly found a following. Some readers viewed the book as a new scripture, while others saw it as a philosophical text that expanded on psychology and other institutions. Many viewers see such a text as an enhancement and clarification of the Holy Bible, along with supplemental material for other world religions. In any case, its arrival was met with both awe and, of course, skepticism. One of the most remarkable aspects of the Urantia book was its content. It offered a detailed cosmology that was far ahead of its time, when aliens were generally still out of the domain of popular culture. The book described a universe organized into multiple levels of reality, with complex beings overseeing the creation and maintenance of life on Earth and in the cosmos. The portrayal of Jesus was also striking, offering a deeply human view of his life, intertwined with cosmic spiritual themes. However, questions about the origins of the Urantia book persisted and have generally detracted from the overall message of hope and love this book presents. Who are the authors behind this work? Were the celestial beings real? Or was this book a product of the imagination of its human collaborators? Despite these questions, the book's influence grew, and it became the cornerstone of a movement known as the Urantia movement. Since the publication of the Urantia book, it has been influential to a number of readers, spiritual seekers, and religious groups. The book's reach has extended far beyond its initial following in the United States, finding adherents in study groups in various parts of the world, with over 25 high-quality translations being provided. However, the Urantia Book movement has remained relatively small compared to other global religions, and holds true that the book's purpose was obviously not meant for the people of that time when it was published. There were no aliens, no internet, no easily accessible research articles, and most certainly no social media influencers to bring this content directly to your door. Still, it has influenced a range of thinkers, philosophers, and even spiritual leaders. While the book itself has never been embraced by mainstream religious organizations, its unique combination of cosmology, philosophy, and religious teachings has inspired people to think differently about their place in the universe. For some, it provides a new framework for understanding the relationship between humanity, God, and the cosmos. Despite its positive influence, the Urantia Book has also faced significant criticism. Some of the criticism stem from the book's obscure origins. The lack of clear authorship has raised some questions about the authenticity of the text. Skeptics have argued that it was the creation of Dr. Sadler and his collaborators rather than a divine revelation, pointing out the inconsistencies and contradictions within the book, majorly citing purported incidences of plagiarism from existing texts at such a time of its publishing. However, in other videos, I have made compelling theories against this likelihood, since again I propose that celestial beings that were not us created such a text, likely borrowing from popular sources of psychology from that time period and perspective. Perhaps a more revolutionary theory supporting plagiarism claims might be that cosmic truths are universal and have always existed and will likely be stated in the same form as other authors have received their truths from a central mind. So in other words, we are continuously inspired and directed by the spirit of truth, our thought adjuster, and adjutant mind spirits, feeding most people the same cosmic truths such as previous authors. Other critics have focused on the book's language, which can be difficult to understand, and its sometimes grandiose claims about the structure of the universe. This can be easily seen by the differing tempos and teaching styles located in various papers inside the Urantia Book. Some have seen the book as a work of fiction, while others have suggested it was a carefully constructed philosophical text designed to inspire people to adopt a new worldview. However, even critics must capitulate that if this book was a hoax or some half-cocked attempt at a new religion, then why place so much effort in creating such an enormous and comprehensive text that generally does not contradict itself, along with taking decades to make? Urantia Foundation. The Urantia Foundation, who currently identifies itself as a 501c3 organization, continues to actively promote the study and dissemination of the Urantia Book, a comprehensive text that explores topics ranging from cosmology to the life and teachings of Jesus. The Foundation's current activities encompass a variety of initiatives aimed at expanding its global reach and fostering a deeper understanding of its contents. Their website offers free materials ranging from electronic and audio versions of the text all the way to study materials and seminars on the matter. To enhance translation accuracy and consistency, the Foundation implemented specialized translation software named Deja Vu in 2015. This tool aids in project management and ensures uniformity and terminology across different languages and editions. Embracing technological tools has been a pivotal role in the Foundation's efforts to reach a broader audience. The Foundation actively engages in educational initiatives to deepen readers' understanding of the Urantia Book. This includes organizing study groups, seminars, and workshops that encourage in-depth discussions and personal insights. These programs are designed to cater to both newcomers and longtime readers, fostering a supportive community for spiritual and intellectual growth. The foundation places a strong emphasis on connecting with readers and fostering a sense of community. Through its official website, it provides resources such as study aids, forums, and personal stories that highlight the transformative impact of the Urantia Book on individuals' lives. These narratives often reflect profound shifts in perspective, blending scientific understanding with spiritual beliefs. Demonstrating a commitment to transparency, the Foundation publishes annual reports detailing its activities, financial status, and strategic goals. These reports offer insights into the allocation of resources, progress and translation projects, and the impact of educational programs, ensuring accountability to supporters and stakeholders. Conclusion. The creation of the Urantia Book remains as a fascinating story of spiritual exploration, intellectual collaboration, and mysterious revelation. Whether seen as a divine revelation or a remarkable work of human creativity, it has left a lasting impact on those who have encountered it. While its origins remain mysterious, the book's legacy continues, with new generations of readers seeking to understand its teachings and implications. Regardless of the controversy and skepticism that surround it, the Urantia Book remains an intriguing, complex, and unique text in the world of spiritual literature, offering real values and differing perspectives on the universe. While the Urantia Book has sought after legal action surrounding the use of the term Urantia and reproduction of the material, many of these acts were reported to be associated with sustaining the credibility and proper reproduction of the Urantia papers. So more precisely, as cited under the Urantia Foundation's About Us section, they maintain that many supporters of the Foundation wish to prevent the appearance of an Urantia Apocrypha, being determined that future generations possess the book free from human connections. So in other words, one of the reasons for the existence of the Urantia Book in the first place was to correct the misinformation, disinformation, and distorted translations that can be found littered throughout the entire Holy Bible. Just in case the Urantia Foundation is watching today's video, you have an amazing app on Google Play that cannot be accessed due to being made for an older version of Android. I'll display videos on my attempt to download your app on my phone and personal computer as of March 8th, 2025. With respect to this channel, I remind viewers that I often speak in generalities, offering my own counselor perspective in order to entice you to read the Urantia Book by yourself. By all means, do not feel compelled to read the entire text. Just whichever paper in this book speaks out to you the most, as I attempt to take the form of teacher and not pastor nor author of this material. As we reflect on the story of the Urantia Book, we are reminded that the search for meaning, truth, and a deeper understanding of the cosmos is an ongoing journey. Whether one sees the book as divine or human, its message continues to inspire, challenge, and provoke thought about the universe, life, and the very nature of existence itself. Remember that while this book is meant to guide you towards a communion with God and their agents, God will always be just a thought away, as the temple of God is already enshrined by your thought adjuster, who is eagerly awaiting your response. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.